In a sense, it appears that the unspoken message is that if you are raped and you are lucky to be alive, you should thank God that you haven't been born. But for us, it must be the other way. And this is why the philosophy of the broken window theory to management of crime has been strong in our policy formulation. We think that big crimes will only thrive if you value small ones. So we will combat the small ones with every energy that we have, so that those small criminals will not mature to become big criminals. And this was an issue that I think the Attorney General and I were able to reach consensus. And I want to thank him personally, thank his office, and all of the people who have supported him, including the Deputy Governor in person and by office, the Ministry of Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, the Office of the Public Defender, for bringing us to what for me is a milestone of personal and institutional satisfaction. I'm pleased and well with myself. Because I think that we can make all of the right platitudes, we empower women, we give them jobs, we give them 30-something%. But what use then are those offices to women if they can be raped at work or at home? If their advancement in their careers depend on whether or not they have to succumb to unwilling advances. What use is being a political office holder if your child is constantly being abused? Which mother will trade political office for the safety of her child? So, we've come here by a series of carefully thought out policies. One of our policies was first an amendment to our criminal justice system law that made it mandatory for any man who put a woman in the family way to provide support for her. We've done that in the right of. One of the other things we did was that postpartum deficiency, which initially, up till recently, was not available to women in Nigeria as a defense to criminal action taken during that period when they are suffering, is now available under Lagos State law as a defense to criminal liability. Across the world before, people used to just condemn them and sentence them. Until one great jury several years ago said, this is not a criminal, this is a woman who needs help. And instead of committing her to jail, I will commit her to mental assistance and medical help. We have adopted that practice as part of our laws in Lagos. Now, one of the other things that we've done was to build a transit home. We know that sometimes, perhaps oftentimes, one of the fallouts of domestic violence, sexual abuse, is that women get thrown out of their homes with their children. Yes. We built the first and perhaps still the only transit home in this country, in Alimosho, where those women live. And so, for those of you who are joining us, these are some of the things I would urge first that you familiarize yourself with. This is part of the process, but there are structures that are being put in place. Our capacity to deal with criminals is being strengthened gradually by the reforms you are seeing in our high courts, the reforms you are seeing in the magistrate court systems, and the commitments and support that we are giving to the police. Last week I announced that every police station in this state will have a much more modern crime data room where photographs of suspects will be taken, their height, their measurement, their weight, and all of those. We put in all of the and very soon we will start deployment so that the system is able to respond Because it is also no use to say we signed an executive order today and the forms are not available. So these are some of the things that we have done in order to put ourselves in a position to now invite you to join us to take ownership of this. Vulnerability can come also. On one hand, we are advocating that, okay, breastfeeding is very good. We must do exclusive breastfeeding. Yet, we speak tongue-in-cheek and expect women to be back at work 3 months after, at the time when their children are most vulnerable. That is why we decided here that whatever it was going to cost us, women who work in the public service here will have 6 months to work with you. Now, we implemented that in Lagos, in the public service. And you see, because that is the window, the biggest window, if you like, of vulnerability of children. The mother is going to work, the child is left in care. Sometimes within those 3 months, it's not enough time to make those arrangements about who will look after that child. So these are some of the gaps we try to cover by policy. So as we go forward, it will be a world in which you will simply see that sex offenders and child abusers will simply disappear. They are going to disappear by our collective action. The Office of the Attorney General has done a lot of work in collaboration with other agencies. They've identified areas by research, very detailed and painstaking research, local governments where we are seeing some prevalence. And those local governments that mentioned Alimosho, Oshofe, Agege, and Isolo. And indeed, in any other part of Lagos, I think it's important to use this opportunity. We want those people to change their ways, or that as a society and as a community, we are coming after them. Yes. But beyond that, there is a role to play on the other side of society, the private sector side of society. What jobs do we ask women to do? Do we ask them to go and bring deposits that are impossible to acquire in order to keep their jobs? This is the time when women must rise up and say no to those kind of jobs. If they won't send men on those kind of desperate missions, then you must not go. Exactly. A number of them are mission impossible targets. And so that is where vulnerability comes. So what value then does the high office that you are giving the woman attract when she has to, as it were, put her dignity on the line in order to keep that job? For me, there are serious issues, and the rights and the laws and all of these things that we have talked about will not mature in the fullest sense that we expect without the enforcement capacity. For me, this is the time when we must have the local, state, whatever policing you call it, under the control of the territory in which the offenses take place to deal with it. If the only reason we step up state police is to protect our women and children, I think it is a good reason. Women, from my experience, are the most loyal voters. Use your vote now to get what you want. Use your votes across this country. This is the time to extract with commitment from your parliamentarians that they will support a police formation that helps to protect your rights. Those must be part of the electoral issues. Every time we say there are no issues in election, there are always issues. Do we bring them to the fore when they come to seek our votes? This is the time to bring them forward, so that we can hold them to something. Our legislators were not held to anything, but as a government, we hold our women, our mothers, our daughters very dearly. And that is why they have passed all these laws and policies that I have told you that we have implemented in Europe, because they care and they understand. And so we need to get more people to care. We have a crime data register, which the Attorney General has mentioned. Everybody who engages with the criminal justice system in Lagos is profiled, photographs taken, names taken, and we have close to 100,000 names on that register now. So this is why we keep telling you, register if you are a resident, because ultimately, the more people we have under the register, the more reliable is the data that you and I can extract from that register. You want to employ a driver, you want to employ somebody, you want to employ an MP, you want to employ a teacher, you want to employ a nanny. Once that person is registered, we can first tell you that this is that person's status. On our crime data, this person exists or does not exist. If that person exists, this is what that person existed for. Okay, it was just a driving ticket. It's not a sex or child abuse card. But if we don't populate that data, we open the register. So go to LASRA, go and register. It's in your own interest to do so. It's like a telephone book. Once you log more names on it, you can call more people. So, without any further ado, I will sign the executive order that gives effect now. This executive order will give effect to the establishment of the Sex Offender Registry, which will be available for cross-referencing and information management. But more importantly, it will make the reporting of sex offenses, child abuse offenses, mandatory. So whether you settle by family or by consensus, it must be reported. Thank you. So the Attorney General, through the Office of the Secretary of State, Gazette of the Executive Order, and the widely publicized and circulated and made available along with the forms, I believe, format of the forms, and we will put online so that people can access them. So thank you very much. Well, just a moment.